Okay, and welcome to episode 30 of Mathghamhain Morsels. This one's going to be how to make a simple hamburger that is absolutely delicious. Well, not the most simple hamburger that you can do. This is again going to be in the Sanguine Start series, because this was one of the first recipes that I came up with. Some of the seasoning changes because I discover new spices, discover new things to add to it, so I do. Okay, so what's the first step to a good hamburger? It's, of course, the ground meat that you use. I'm using an 80-20 because it has a nice fat to meat ratio. So 80-20, I wouldn't fall below 85-15 because fat's flavor in this case. So I have my ground beef. Now, I want to make sure that my burger has a nice complex flavor, so I want to mix in some spices. But one thing that you never mix into your ground beef is you don't mix salt into your beef. You salt it right before you cook it. You don't mix it in before. You can mix in your other seasonings. So these change depending on how I feel, and like I said, I've added a number of ingredients. If you have different flavor profile that you like, go for that different flavor profile. If this looks good, well, try this one. So I'm going to use a bit of sweet smoked paprika, and I'm just going to come on out. There we go. A little bit more. That looks good for smoked paprika. Then the next one you might not be able to find where you are. I did. I love it. It is absolutely delicious. But if you can't find this one, you can find the liquid version. Just I prefer the powdered version for this because it mixes in nice and doesn't increase how wet it is. And that is, I have some powdered Worcestershire. So, just going to add a bit of Worcestershire. If you like pepper, you can mix in pepper to your burger. No problem whatsoever. It would be a good point to do it. Then, you of course know I absolutely love garlic, so I'm going to mix in a trio of garlics. Black garlic, roasted garlic, and some smoked garlic. And I'm just going to get in there and mix this around. And you want to make sure that you're getting all the seasonings that you mixed throughout the entire meat. So I have a pocket right there of a bunch of these flavors. And I just want to make sure that it gets mixed in entirely. That way I don't have one bite that is way too flavorful, another that has absolutely no flavor, and a couple that are in between. I want to make sure that this gets mixed throughout. So get in there, mix it round. I'm using a glove for obvious reasons. Makes it so that I don't have to clean my hands as much when I'm doing this. But if you don't wear a glove, just make sure that you wash your hand down after. This is something that you can't really get past. You need to get your hand in there in order to get this mixed round. So I don't see any big pockets of seasoning anymore. It all seems to be mixed throughout, which is exactly what I wanted. So now what I want to do is I want to form these up into my burgers, and I'm going to do two nice big half-pound burgers, at least half pound when they're raw. And I'm just going to very loosely form their shape. And then I'm going to let them sit for a bit just to let the flavors blend together. But while these are sitting, I'm going to prepare some other things. So I have a skillet on my burner, which I'm preparing some bacon, because who doesn't love a bacon cheeseburger? I know I absolutely do. So I have a good thick cut bacon on my burner, just waiting and crisping up slowly. And then I'm also going to make some jammy onions, and the trick to jammy onions is you really want to crowd the pan, and you want to start with a good amount of fat. In this case I'm going to use butter, and I'm also going to be adding a little bit of the bacon fat. So let your burgers rest for a bit, because you want those flavors to marry throughout. And I'll be back to show you guys the next part of the burgers, but I'm also going to show you what's currently happening in the kitchen and walk you through the jammy onions while I'm at it. Okay, so here we are in my kitchen. As you can see, I have some bacon still going in the skillet. Most of my bacon's done enough. Just the last couple pieces need a little bit more crisping. And these two just got done. And what I've done, just because I don't have all that much room around me in here, is I just have a cooling rack stashed in my oven with the oven off. And stashed in here with the oven off, that I'm just resting the bacon on, just because it's a bit more convenient than trying to figure out a place to stick it up on my work surfaces right now. So the bacon's just kind of resting in the oven, making sure that it lets the grease drip off the bacon. So that's almost done. And then on the back burner, you can see I have a pot of butter. This pot's fairly small. Like I said, the reason for that is when you're making jammy onions, which jammy caramelized onions on a burger, oh my god, they're delicious. You really want an overcrowded pan for your jammy onions. So just throw in all your onions, and I'll be shifting this up to the front burner once this last piece of bacon's done. And the bacon you can do to your level of doneness. If you like it really crispy, cook it really crispy. If you like it with a little bit of wiggle, like I do, then cook it with a little bit of wiggle. And once it's done as much as you want, just move it to a cooling tray or cooling rack, and let it rest so that it will be perfect when you need it. So let me move this off to the side. I'll throw this skillet back on the heat once I'm done with this portion, because that's going to be the one that I actually cook the burgers in. So now I have the onion on my main burner here. I have the butter in there, nothing else right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add on some Durango hickory smoked salt, because you need the onions in an overcrowded pan with a good amount of fat and some salt. And I just realized one ingredient that I forgot to add into my burger that I'll be doing right before I end up bringing them in here. Well, I'll sprinkle it on now and mix it in a moment. But that's going to be some hickory wood powder. Hickory wood smoke powder, rather. Which will be one of the two things that I use in order to give it that grilled burger taste, despite these burgers are going to be done in a cast iron skillet on my stove top. So mix your onions round, let the salt get to them. And you want this not a terribly high heat. I currently have it at a medium high. But you want it high enough that they'll start to cook down. And as they cook down, you'll keep mixing them and let them cook down a little bit more. They'll get this deep caramelized color as they go. The overcrowding will allow them to get that jamminess and help make sure that they get that colorization without just becoming sauteed onion. And as I go, I'll be adding in a couple other flavors. So I'll be adding in some mustard. So I have this nice mustardy, jammy onion to throw on my burger. And I might throw in a little bit of garlic. I'll see how I feel about that as it goes. So just keep going back in, mixing them around. You can already see that they've gone translucent. They're starting to go yellow. And you just want to keep letting them cook down, so you get this beautiful, thick, jammy, caramelized onion. There's really not much of a different way of describing them other than that. And they go absolutely fantastic on burgers. They add a nice bit of sweetness. When you add in other flavors, like I'm going to be doing with the mustard, you get those other flavors being pulled over by the onion as well. Just makes it a beautiful little topping for any burger. On a grill or done in your kitchen like these are going to be. So you just keep an eye on the onion, let them cook down. I'll join you guys back a bit later, once I start the actual burger portion of this. I'll show you what the onions look like. That'll be after I add in the mustard, and I'm going to add in probably about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of one of the mustards that I like, which is going to be a sweet and smoky mustard. You can add in whatever your preferred mustard is. I recommend for going for one that's a more complex flavor than like a French's yellow mustard. Just because any chance that you have to get that added little level of flavor, go for it. But yeah, I'll join you guys back up once I'm about to throw the burgers on. Okay, so I almost forgot an important step to showing people how to make a proper burger, and that's how should you form your patties. And for me, I start with a lump of my meat, and then I just kind of work it out into a disc, and I make sure that it ends up with the edges being higher up than the center. And the reason for that is as you cook, your burger will start to plump up in the middle. So if you want a even somewhat flat hamburger, you have to make sure that the center of your burger, when you're forming it, is lower than the outer ring of your burger. If you do that, it should form up flat as you cook it. Once you make your burgers, that's when you can actually start salting. And you can use whatever type of salt you want. Normal table salt, some kosher salt, a more exotic salt. I'm going to use the same salt that I threw onto the jammy onions as I was making them, which is again that absolutely beautiful Durango hickory wood smoked salt, which adds another little bit of that wood smoke flavor that I would normally get when I grill these, but since these are being cooked inside, this goes beautifully. And what I want to do is I just salted the side that has that little hollow, so I'm going to flip those, because the side that's going to touch the skillet first is going to be this reverse side where I didn't press down the hollow. And you can do either a little divot in your burger, or some people prefer to do kind of like a volcano style hump in the very center. Either way works. Either way can produce a flat burger. You just need a divot. And with that, I'll join you guys in the kitchen as these are about to go into my cast iron skillet. Okay, here we are in my kitchen again. So, what I did in order to grease up my pan was I kept some of that bacon fat that I had from earlier on in there, just spread it round and poured off the excess. So in goes one burger, and in goes the second burger. You want to have distance between them, because you don't want to end up steaming your burgers. You want them to end up cooking nicely. Get a nice sear on them. So I'm just going to let those sit for a good while. And what I'm going to show you is how those jammy onions that I started making earlier and then finished off camera end up looking. And like I said, they get really jammy. What I did was I decided to add in a little bit more flavor. Here, let me make sure that that actually got into the camera frame. Yep. So, really jammy onions. Absolutely delicious. In order to up their flavor a little bit more, I added a shot of Jameson about the same time that I added in the mustard. So, you want to get a good sear on your burger. So you leave them alone for a little bit. And you should start to be able to smell about when they'll need to flip. It won't be perfect until you get used to it. I mean, it's been a little bit since I've cooked hamburgers, so you guys need to cheat a little bit to take a couple peeks. So let's see. What does this look like right now? Nope, still needs a good bit more time. I'm just going to, as these cook, I'm not going to press them down. Do not, under any fucking circumstance, press a burger while it's cooking. Once it hits the heat and it's been allowed to rest for a moment, do not press down your burger. You will squeeze the juice out of it. You want that juice in the burger. It's the thing that makes the burger absolutely delicious. If you want a really thin burger, you press the burger the second that it hits the heat. Do not wait a few moments and then press it down. No, you want to mash that burger the second that it hits the heat, get the coverage that you want, and then don't press it after that. Leave it alone. Don't squeeze, don't press, just let it go. And you'll see me either shift the burgers or turn my skillet a little bit as this cooks, because the heating element's a little bit smaller than my skillet, or rather not really a little bit smaller, but just smaller than my skillet. So in order to try to get a more even cook, I'm going to turn it around every so often. And if they're spitting a lot, mine aren't really spitting all that much, but if they're spitting a lot, I use a splatter cover, and that just keeps them from really mucking up my kitchen. And I'm going to add a bit of water to a pot that I have off camera, because with my burgers I'm just going to have a quick, simple and dirty tortellini salad. Trying to say too many words at one time. Ended up with pickle. So just going to add some water to that pot of water that I have off camera. Now this is smelling like it should probably be cooked here. Let's see. Not quite as much color on one of them as I was hoping. So I'll need to flip it a couple times just to make sure that it gets a nice even color. Sometimes you need to do that if you're using a good grill. You don't have to do it as often if your pan is the same size as your heating element, or you have gas so it kind of splashes on the bottom. The heat, that is, the flames lick at the bottom of your skillet, then you won't have to worry about it being inconsistent with an electric range like I have. Sometimes it has some inconsistent heating. So yeah, you guys can see that one of them has a decent amount of color. Not spectacular. The other one doesn't really have any color. So you're just going to let them get a nice bit of color and keep on flipping them until they're consistent color and they're done all the way through. Again, do not squeeze them, do not press them. It squeezes the juice out. You want the juice. Fat is flavor, that juice is flavor. Leave it be. So I will cut off here because this is just going to be watching beef brown. And I will join you guys back up once these burgers are done. And I'll be topping these burgers up with some good cheddar cheese and letting it melt once they're to my liking. Okay, so here we are, back at my desk. And here are my two burgers, just with a couple pieces of that bacon that I cooked up earlier. I melted about 3 pieces of cheese onto each of these burgers. There are those lovely whiskey, mustardy, jammy onions. You can dress up your burger however you like to. I'm just throwing these on some toasted buns. And let's get the first bite of this, shall we? There's the cross section of it. The crispy, crispy bacon, those jammy onions. This one I threw some pickles onto. This one I don't have any pickles on. If you like pickles, throw pickles on. If you don't like pickles, leave the pickles off. You can add mustard and mayo and ketchup to this if you want. You can mix up your own burger sauce. But the burger's still nice and juicy with those jammy onions. It's absolutely fantastic. So, just to recap, main things that you want to know when you're cooking a burger: don't mix your salt into the burger patty as you're forming your patties. Save that until after the patties are formed, you salt it, and then you throw it into your pan or throw it onto the grill. That way, you get those fantastic Maillard reactions. You want to use a burger meat with a good amount of fat. I'd say at least 15 to 20% fat. When you're forming your patties, you want to make sure that you put a divot into the center, and you want it sunk down a decent bit because the burger plumps as you cook it. So I did push down, and you can see that the center of my burger is still plumped up about the same thickness as the edge of my burger. And just enjoy cooking the burger. Enjoy eating the burger. Use flavor combinations that you enjoy. Experiment. Try different cheeses, different types of bacon, different types of salt, different seasonings to throw in. You can make burgers that are seasoned up like kebabs. Absolutely delicious. Serve them up with a tzatziki or a riata. Ah, absolutely delicious. But I'm going to let you guys go. And I'm going to continue eating my beautiful burgers and the side that I made up for myself. And I shall see you guys in the next episode, which will also be shot tonight, and that's going to be the candied walnuts episode. So I'll leave you guys off with my standard try new things, try new flavors, even something as basic as a hamburger. Try different flavor combinations. Make a hamburger that's flavored up in some good Mexican flavors and serve it with a salsa. Make one that is flavored up like a kebab and do a riata or tzatziki with it or some hummus with it. It would be fantastic. Just try different flavors, try different combinations. And with that, have a good one all.